That was too close.
We finally have Resident Evil 7 in our hands. After playing it for a while, it was time to sit down and write this review. Before I go over anything, let me just say that this is my opinion. This game, although it was well received by critics, it is still very split by fans. People already don't like the fact that I even enjoy this game to the slightest. Everyone has their own opinion at the end of the day, but if you don't care or even like this game, then stop watching the review now. Thank you. And for all the fans that are still watching, let's continue.
I love you, Ethan. I miss you so much. I'm sending tons of kisses. Bye, baby.
Ethan. You were right. I did lie to you. I shouldn't have. All I can say is that if you get this, stay away.
Hello?
Hey, it's Ethan.
Oh, hey. You alright? You just disappeared the other night.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. It's Mia. She's not dead, she's alive. She's back.
They found her? How? What happened?
I don't know. Look, I don't know how, but she's back. She's back somehow. Maybe it's a prank, but she wants me to come and get her.
Where is she?
Dulvey, Louisiana.
Dude, it's been 3 years.
I know, but what if it is her? I have to find out what happened.
Resident Evil 6 took place between 2012 and 2013. This game takes place in 2017, so about 5 years after all the events that took place with our main heroes in RE6. Our new main character, Ethan, is sent out looking for his wife after a video was sent stating that she is still alive. It has already been 3 years since she has been missing, but Ethan is determined to find her after receiving the video. What he ends up finding, however, is the Bakers. Welcome to the family, son. The Baker house is where the majority of Resident Evil 7 takes place. You run into Jack and Marguerite, who chase you most of the time. This family gives the new RE7 a new psychological twist, as well as some kind of infection, so it plays around with some different things that I appreciated a lot. Let's get to the overall gameplay. Obviously this is a very different style this time around with the first person perspective. I'll admit it took some getting used to, but this could have been for the sole purpose of VR, which is very likely why they even have it in the game to begin with. Regardless, after playing it, I think it went over pretty well. Sure, it isn't fixed camera angles, which I might have personally preferred, but this works very well with how the game is mapped out. This game brings back a lot of keys, backtracking, and some small puzzles to throw into the mix, which is a different kind of pace than what we're used to. Scavenging in this game is really important, but I think they pulled it off very well. There is a nice return of gunpowder and different combinations to craft different ammo for said guns. They also have different forms of chem fluids, which is a new feature, and they mix for ammo and health. I mean, anything is better than a damn health pills from Resident Evil 6, but that's beside the point. You can also find supplements, which are timed supplements, and they help you find items around each room for probably about a minute or so. If you want to be like Chris from Resident Evil 5, you can also take steroids to increase health. These kind of take the place for any kind of upgrades that this game would initially have, which is absent entirely. It is also a very nice touch to the gameplay to see the safe rooms come back with the item boxes. There is also the tape recorders, where you can save the game, which is awesome. Madhouse mode requires you to have tapes to save your game for good, which is a nice callback to the good old ink ribbons that we know and love. Resident Evil 7 also cuts back on the artillery that is available at hand. A handgun, a shotgun, a flamethrower, and even a machine gun. There is plenty of ammo for many combat-fueled moments. You can also fix certain broken guns for certain upgrades. When the upgrading for weapons are completely gone, it was the perfect choice for the situation at hand, making your character feel less powerful than before. The overall graphics are phenomenal. Running on the brand new RE engine, everything looks great. I'm happy there are no censored death scenes anymore like in Resident Evil 5 or even Resident Evil 6. They are a bit more dark and gritty, more guts and more gore, and I personally love that. The environments are dark, creepy, and disgusting, a change up from the last few games, and are much appreciated from a fan's perspective. Of course, everyone knows that Jack chases you, and so does Marguerite, and they all have their different forms for boss fights, but the other enemies are filled with something called the Molded, who roam around and have some different forms, but aren't anything special. They don't look very scary or very creative. They just kind of do the same thing while you fight them off. There could have been a little bit more variety with the BOWs this time around. I mean, even Resident Evil 6 didn't have the best variety of enemies, so I'm not too sure what's going on here, but I do understand that this is a little bit more of a scaled back kind of game, but I could have at least seen a little bit more in the variety. Resident Evil 7 is trying to sell the fact that it was going back to the roots of survival horror, but I must admit I was never genuinely scared. There were creepy elements as far as the atmosphere and some of the enemies, but nothing made me feel like I was playing Resident Evil Remake again with all the intense moments that game had, or even Resident Evil 3 with Nemesis chasing you around. I did, however, feel like it was a step in the right direction, and I'm curious to see what they can do in the next installment. Let's talk about the files in this game. Files play a bit of a bigger role here. When reading them, it tries to fill in some of the blanks of the story elements. Some of them refer to Outbreak and even Revelations. Again, references are always appreciated this time around, especially a game that's pretty far from what we know. There are some inconsistencies, of course, in the actual timelines. We don't ever know when the game actually takes place. Even Resident Evil 6 had dates and such to make the timeline a bit more sensible. Here, not so much. I felt like with them taking a new approach to this that they would at least establish some of the main characters a little bit more. But the only ones that really got established here were the Bakers, and they were the only ones that really had any memorable moments. After all of these pros and cons, it's safe to say that this is a solid Resident Evil game. I definitely think this is aimed more towards a casual audience. It's struggling to do financially better than RE5 and RE6, so I wouldn't really expect the next one to be in first person, but we'll see. I was in high praise when streaming this the first time around. I pointed out a lot of positives, of course, but after playing it again and even a third time, I was able to take it all in before writing this review, which is why I took a little bit longer. It's far from being my favorite in the series, as I did enjoy the crafting, the scavenging, with different elements that have been missing from the past few entries of the series. It just didn't capture the same feeling that something like Resident Evil Remake would give you, or even the original trilogy. That fear you felt with the original entries, the tension, the great character interaction, all of these things fell a little flat here, but Capcom did try to make up for the disappointments that were left after 6. It's a step in the right direction, however. I hope the next installment will take us even closer to more familiar faces and more BOWs. At the end of the day, Resident Evil 7 is still very divided amongst fans, amongst casuals and people that are actually die-hard about the series. Let's look into the future and have high hopes that Resident Evil 8 is going to be even better. Take it easy, everyone.
Do I have your attention, boy? You're about to see something wonderful. Fuck!